Welcome to Football and AI. My name is Adeyemi Adesonya. As usual, every Friday we get together to pit man versus machine in the Premier Football Prediction Show on YouTube. So far, so good. It's been an interesting week. The AI has been in excellent form. 7 games without defeat so far, and the level of accuracy is increasing and getting better and better by the day. Last week we had Hassan Abdullah, old friend of mine, and he was taking to the clearance that he has vowed to make a return. Last week, the AI probably I have to check. See, I think that was the AI had his record performance,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
3 correct scores and
yeah.
2 outcomes. That's 11
Points.
points for the AI.
Yes.
That has been the highest number of points the AI has scored since we started this program. This is episode 17, and as you know, I'm not alone. I've got the man behind the AI today, as always, Mr. Dr. Sheyi Akindeni. Sheyi, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're happy to go again. AI
I
unbeaten.
see that your confidence is sky high now
Oh, of course. When
because
when
the
you're
movement
winning,
is
when
very
you're winning,
prolific.
when you're winning, you tend to be more comfortable in what you're doing, and then I mean, even when we're losing, then we knew that at some point when we have more data, we would probably start to garner some points. But it's good to test the data again against another worthy contestant.
All right, so joining us this afternoon is Ladi Adeomi. Ladi, welcome to Football and AI.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good afternoon. I'm here to let me try my best and see how I can pit myself against AI. Mhm. Thank
Ladi
you.
does animations, motion picture, graphics, and online
Yes.
advertising, and he's leaving his day job to come and pit himself against the AI. Hopefully, he doesn't end up in the Hall of Fame. I refuse to call it the other thing, but it's Hall of Fame. People like Richard Awe, Kelechi Ukoro, Clinton, and a few other persons, Hassan Abdullah, have found themselves in that exclusive class of people to have been defeated by the AI. So if you're joining us, welcome to the show. Please
Yeah.
drop your
Thank you
comments if
so
you have
much.
any comments or you have any thoughts on the games we'll be discussing. Please feel free to drop your thoughts in the comment section. Now, Shay, let me come to you.
Yes.
Data, data, data. All we use is data. But somehow, the data failed to tell us that Liverpool will lose back to back home games. What's going on?
Like you said, data is garbage in, garbage out. I mean, and if you think about it, even a human being wouldn't have predicted, that kind of thing. I mean, this is a team that hasn't lost in at home in 4 years, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
they've now lost two on the bounce. So sometimes that's the downside of data. I mean, it looks at trends, looks at trends, and it only makes predictions on the basis of what has happened before. So that's essentially why sometimes data isn't that reliable, especially in things like sports where things can happen on the day. I mean, anything can happen. I mean, there was another thing that happened this week, which I think nobody in the world. I mean, you were chatting with me offline that only one person in the world actually made a pronouncement that Man U will win 9-0.
Oh,
So
yeah.
those are things that data would not. I mean, when last did that happen? Maybe 19. I mean, it happened last season to Southampton. So who would have predicted that? So I mean, these are things that you cannot really In fact, what I will tell you is that during the training for the AI data, we typically take those kinds of results out of scope because there are no things that happen. Another thing that happened this past week was in two games there were two red cards. I mean, when last did that happen? We hardly have one red card in games, and you now go and have two in two games. So those are things that data can never ever predict. I mean, for that matter, a human being. So those are the limitations of data. Data is meant to augment, not to replace. So that's why data will never be 100%. In fact, data will probably not be 70 to 80% accurate.
Okay, so now, interestingly, two things. The two teams that have been responsible for defeating Liverpool in back-to-back home games play each other this weekend. Secondly, Liverpool play a third game at home to title rivals Manchester City. Is there any way, any chance that Lightning will strike a third time?
Now, from personal experience, I mean, I think if you look at Liverpool, they tend to play well against teams that are a bit, that are up there. I mean, all the games Liverpool have dropped points in this season: Fulham, Burnley. Where there are like 5 of the last 6 teams on the table. So it's almost as if there's a mental block there. But when they play, I mean, they played the games recently, the 2 away games, West Ham flying, Tottenham away, and they came. I mean, they won 3-1 on each occasion. So I think they tend to raise the game when the opposition is a bit, more, how would I put it, more upwardly mobile and stronger. So I believe personally that they may, play better, even though the AI has gone for a score draw. But personally, if you ask me, I think they might even they might even win. They might even beat Man City at Anfield.
It's interesting you mentioned very critically the fact that Liverpool have only won one match against members of the bottom 6,
Exactly.
and that accounts for 7 points out of a possible 21 points. It's
against lower opposition.
Against members of the bottom 6, and that's a ridiculous start. But then Liverpool have always found a way to show up against the so-called members of the Big 6, with the exception of they played against City. It was a 0-0 draw. They played against United. It was a 0-0 draw. They defeated
City was the 1-1
Spurs. Was a 1-1 draw. They played Spurs. They defeated Spurs with a late winner from Firmino. Defeated Chelsea away from home 2-1 as well. So, yes, I tend to agree with you, but I still do think that, Liverpool should, have been able to find a way, to better the teams in the lower side of the table. But then, really, you've explained to me that really there's very little the data can do, with respect to showing us what direction those games would go. But let me ask you this. With the data that we have now related to Burnley and Brighton, come next season, when Burnley and Brighton, if they are still members of the Premier League, is there a likelihood that the data can tilt the prediction in favor of Burnley or Brighton when they play Liverpool?
Not exactly, because the way data works, it works with pattern recognition. So it sees certain patterns. So if, for instance, now in the last, let's say the data that we're training the AI with is 5 seasons worth of data, and in 4 of the last 5 seasons, Liverpool have won. That's 80% chance that there's going to be a Liverpool victory. So it's still going to be, unless we're working, we spread it out and work with more data as we do in other industries. But we know football, you can't, I mean, three seasons worth of data is even too much to train with, because what happened 3 seasons ago and what is happening now, especially with now that, I mean, there was I think last week was when we had the highest number of away wins ever. Like, all the games were
Yeah,
just away victory. I mean, how many times do you think? And that's probably because there are no fans in these home stadiums to galvanize, the home teams. So when they are not playing well, they are not there. There are no fans to lift their confidence, and also data can't take into consideration a lot of these kinds of things. You just look at the results and feed it into the model, and it makes that prediction. So those are the things that those are the limitations, to be honest, with using pure data to try to predict things like football scores.
Okay, so let me come to Laddie. So Laddie, everybody that's been on this show, the first question I always ask them is, what goes into consideration? What do you take into consideration when you are making predictions?
Sometimes it's just the when you look at the psychology of the players. Sometimes when they are like, it's just like you said, Liverpool has a kind of attitude towards the top six compared to the teams in the relegation battle, and even the teams in the relegation battle are fighting tooth and nail to get out of that position. So it's like a Sheffield United beating a Man United, and you weren't expecting that. So some of those things come into play because those players, those teams just kind of want to fight their way out of those situations. But unlike a top six situation, it's like they know themselves more compared to the bottom of the teams at the bottom of the table. So Liverpool playing a Man City, I think Klopp knows more about Pep than he might. Pep style and his ways of setting up his team than we might expect. So I don't think it's going to be an easy win for Man City. This might be the game where Liverpool Klopp sets up a way, just to stop Man City in their wheels, to get a win or a draw or something. So you need to consider, because the last season it really did that. There was that. I think it's still there. You know how to just walk around, how to get into Man City's system of flow, break, even if they have to do a kind of sit back a little, absorb a little pressure, break on the counter. So those are a few of the things that come to mind when you're thinking about what's going to be in this kind of situation, trying to look at what happened in Liverpool.
Are you a form guy or you are a head-to-head guy?
Form. I think head-to-head at times. Because rivalries sometimes, especially when rivalries either for the title or for the city, sometimes make the players or the team out of their form. They could be bad in form, and then when they meet a rivalry that is really bad, they go out of their way to outperform their normal, whatever it is they've been doing before, just to get and then they could from there go back to the poor form they had. So sometimes head-to-head is what works, and it depends on that I think rivalry has a lot to do sometimes when it comes to what the outcome can be.
So you are more of a head-to-head guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so Shane, let me come to you. So City are top, looking good. A game in hand. If they win, that takes them, I think it'll be 10 points ahead of Liverpool if they win this weekend. Do you think this takes, if a win for City, does it take Liverpool out of the title equation?
I think so. With a team like City, it will be difficult. I mean, even with the way it is now, 7 points with a game in hand, and this with City, they can easily win that game. So that's already 10 points. So if you lose again, that's 13 points. 13 points will mean that you need to win 5 games. And City would lose. I mean, do I see City losing 5 games before the end of the season? Especially with half the season gone. I really don't think so. And they have Kevin De Bruyne to come back. They have 1 or 2 other people Aguero to come. So I really don't think. To be honest, if they win this, I mean, with the way I'm almost tempted to say that it's City's to lose. It's actually City's to lose, and if they win this weekend, it just simply means that I mean, clawing that back, especially with a team like that. I mean, this was a team that 2 seasons ago, we battled neck to neck. They won I mean, they won as they were winning, we were winning. So it was almost like I mean, this is a team that once they get into that flow of things, they'll be difficult to stop. And with other teams, also dropping points, Leicester, Man U, Chelsea. I really don't. I think it would be a battle more for who will be second, third, and fourth than who would win it. So if City wins this weekend, I think that's it.
Okay, so if City win this weekend, of course, if depending on the results around them, they will have some kind of daylight ahead of the teams around them, and that might just somehow put paid um, to the situation in the league. Now, Arsenal are another team who have been in really good form. Um, 7 games, 5 wins out of 7. Eventually, they lost in midweek to Wolves in the game Shea was referring to where there were 2 red cards. David Luiz and Bernardo got sent off, and of course, Manchester United are home to Southampton. Shea made reference to that 9-0. Only the second time Manchester United will be scoring 9 goals at Old Trafford, which is a Premier League record. You have to go back to the mid-90s when they scored 9 against Ipswich. And interestingly, just was October 2019 or thereabout, Southampton also lost 9-0 to Leicester City at home. And at that time, everybody thought Southampton were doomed. They also got 2 red cards in the game at Old Trafford, and as they say, the rest is history. So we'll have to watch out for these teams and see how they all respond. Particularly, I would like to see how Arsenal respond after suffering their first defeat in 7, despite the circumstances, whether they lost, got 2 players sent off. So that makes you realize that they will be without first choice goalkeeper Bernardo and David Luiz for this weekend. So, and Arsenal visit Villa. Villa are in decent form, even though they've lost 2 of their last 3 matches. They lost to Burnley away from home, and they lost to West Ham, who've really looked good this season, sneaking into the top 4 and showing that they do deserve to be part of the teams in the equation. Also, note that they signed Manchester United player Jesse Lingard, who has gotten off to a brilliant start at the new London Stadium. And hey, if the West Ham fans were in the stands, the Hammers, he would already have his name being chanted in the stands. So Shay, before we go into the predictions, any adjustments, any tweaks this weekend to the AI, to the data, to the
Not
parameters?
No, you don't change, you don't tweak a winning formula. So we just left it as it is and trained it with the extra data. Maybe when we pick up another loss, we'll see what we can do. Where we went wrong and all that. And so no tweaks whatsoever. And you see, AI, anything that has to do with data and analytics, and they work with more data. So the more data they have, the more the model fits in. So you have more things to work with. You have more information to work with. You have more statistics to work with. So hopefully, as we go by, let's see what happens. So there was really no tweak other than adding the last 2 games, the results of the last 2 games to the, since we didn't do anything at the during the week to see and find, so we still maintain the same formula that has allowed AI to have a winning streak for the last 7 weeks.
All right, so since there will be no tweaks, no adjustments, let's head straight to the predictions. And Laddie is our guest, so let's give Laddie let me first ask Laddie, what team do you support?
I'm actually a Real Madrid fan, but I also I'm a Real Madrid
when
fan.
people start saying, you probably support Arsenal.
You
So
said
the primary support. When people say,
no, Arsenal, no way, no way, no
the
way.
primary support Arsenal. So, so that's why I said, let me ask you, because the first game this weekend is Aston Villa. Even though Arsenal are doing pretty well, yes, one win, one loss from a possible 7 matches. So that's not bad, really, if you consider how badly Arsenal performed at the start of the season. So there's no shame in supporting Arsenal at the moment. It's just that the team is still located in page 2 of 2, and that's not a good place. It's not a good place to be in,
Yeah, they're too far
considering
from where they should be.
yes, and it's also nice to see how the table is shaping up. A few things. I don't know how I forgot to mention the fact that Chelsea 3 games with the new manager, 2 games won, 1 draw, 7 points out of 9. Maybe the right word is not looking good, but looking decent. Probably looking a lot more defensively solid. Um, in being able to get the better of their opponents. So hey, things are looking bright at Chelsea. They go away to struggling Sheffield United, who have also picked up form. Got a win in midweek against the federal education candidate West Brom. So are we going to be putting that into consideration when making our predictions today? If Sheyi is ready, I'm ready. Ladi, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so if you are there, I'm ready. Let's get things going. Aston Villa taking on Arsenal at Villa Park. Sheyi, what say you?
Well, it's gone for an Aston Villa victory.
Okay,
2-1.
2-1 Villa.
Aston Villa,
Ladi,
yes.
Hmm. I think Arsenal will win.
hmm,
Arsenal will win like 3-1.
Arsenal, Villa won, Arsenal 3. But interestingly, one of the results that ensured survival for Aston Villa last season was a win against Arsenal at Villa Park. I'm also going for a Villa win 2-1. Um, Burnley, Brighton, two teams who have been responsible for back-to-back defeats against Liverpool. What say you?
Well, it's gone for a Burnley 2-1 victory.
Burnley 2, Brighton 1. Laddie, how do you see this game panning out?
Yeah, Brighton will win. I think a 2-1 will be good for this win. Brighton will win 2-1, beating Burnley at home.
So Burnley 1, Brighton 2.
Brighton 2.
I've gone for a 1-1 draw in that one. I think both teams will cancel themselves out, and the game will end 1-1. Newcastle, Southampton, Laddie.
Newcastle, Southampton. Newcastle, Southampton. Let me see. I think Southampton will win like a 3-2. 2 Newcastle 2, Southampton 3.
It's interesting that so far Laddie has gone for strictly away wins, while the AI has been going for home wins. AI, Newcastle, Southampton.
0-2.
0-2 to Southampton.
Yeah.
I've also gone for 1-3 in favor of Southampton.
What
I
did
think
you go
Southampton
for
will
Brighton?
bounce back.
Burnley Brighton.
1-1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Fulham West Ham is a London derby. West Ham are in great form at the moment. Fulham lost at home to Leicester City in a game that I expected that they were going to put on much more tougher resistance, but Leicester were too good for them on the day. So, AI,
It's gone for a draw.
Fulham West Ham
1-1. 1-1.
1-1. Okay, Laddie, Fulham West Ham.
I think this would be like 4-1. Fulham 1, West Ham 4.
Fulham 1, West
West
Ham
Ham
4.
Yeah.
Hey! Wow. Well, I've gone for a West Ham win.
Yeah.
I'm going for a 1-2. 1-2 in favor of West Ham. Manchester United versus Everton, one of the big games for this weekend. Manchester United did go to Goodison Park against Everton and got a really good win where Edison Cavani and Bruno Fernandes were actually very stellar for United. United hopefully have not scored all the matches, all the goals that are supposed to spread across 3 matches in one game. AI, what say you?
Well, AI has gone for Man U 2-1 over Everton.
United 2, Everton 1. Laddie, what say you?
I think this will be a Man U win. 3-1. 3 for Man U, 1 for Everton.
Okay, 3-1. That's the first home win that Laddie is predicting. I've gone for a 2-1 win also for Manchester United. Spurs have lost their last 3 games, or is it their last 4? The first time Jose Mourinho has lost at home in back-to-back games. He takes on relegation consultant West Brom, relegation specialist Sam Allardyce. Who wins this one? AI.
3-1 for Tottenham. 3-1.
3-1 Spurs. I wonder where the goals will come from for Spurs in this one. Spurs have been quite uninspiring. Laddie, how do you see this one panning out?
I think this will be a 2-0 win for Spurs. Spurs to West Brom 0.
2-0. Unfortunately, Spurs doesn't, inspire any form of confidence in me at the moment. I'm going for a 1-1 draw in this one. Wolves, Leicester City, a Midlands derby, another game we should keep close attention to. Wolves have bounced back after such poor form over the last few months to get results at home to Arsenal. Now they host Leicester City. Leicester City won the last game away from home and will be looking to go to Molineux to continue this. AI, what say you?
It's gone for a Wolves victory 2-1.
Wolves 2, Leicester 1. Okay, Laddie.
I think this will be a draw. West Ham 2, Leicester 2. 2-2 draw.
2-2. Well, I've gone for a Wolves win. Somehow, anytime Leicester expected to step things up, they tend to falter. Big game. Potential title
What was the
decider.
score?
Or maybe it's my own 2-1.
Oh, 2-1. Okay.
Yeah, Laddie is 2-2.
Okay.
Potential title decider, even though you might say it's too early to say that. Liverpool taking on Manchester City. Laddie, how do you see this one panning out?
I think Liverpool is going to win. It's going to be difficult, but I think it's going to be a 2-1 win for Liverpool. Liverpool to Man City 1.
2-1 win Liverpool. AI, what say you?
Well, AI has gone for a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. 2-2 draw. I've gone for a 1-1 draw. It's a continuation of where they left off at the Etihad. And the last game of the weekend, and not last game of the weekend.
There are 2 more games. Yeah.
Sheffield United taking on Chelsea. Laddie.
Chelsea is going to win. I think. Let me see. It should be like a 3-1 win for Chelsea. Sheffield 1, Chelsea 3.
Sheffield United 1,
1, Chelsea 3.
Chelsea 3. Okay, AI
Same thing. 1-3.
1, 3. Okay, Sheffield United at home to Chelsea. I like the way Sheffield United look, how they're playing now these days. Why does my mind keep pointing me that this would be a draw? This would be a draw. But let me go for Sheffield United 1, Chelsea 2. And the final game of the weekend is Leeds United versus Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace have been looking pretty decent of late. Found their goal scoring for Berechi Eze is really looking like the real delivery on the big news. Leeds, on the other hand, well, you really don't know what you're going to get with that team. One week they put up an excellent performance and win. The following week they get, dumped the in the trash heap. They are home to Crystal Palace this weekend. Ladi, how do you think this will end?
I think this will be a draw. Yeah, I would have wanted Leeds United to win, but I think this will be a draw. More like 2-2 draw. Leeds to Crystal Palace 2.
2-2 draw. 2-2 draw. All right, yeah, final prediction.
3-1 Leeds United.
3-1 Leeds United. 3-1 Leeds United. Remember the last time these two guys played in the season, there was controversy. Patrick Bamford scored a goal that I felt should have stood, but he was signaled offside because of pointing. So a lot to be riding on this one. A lot of players will remember that particular incident, but I think Palace eventually won that game. So for this one, I am also sticking my neck for a local Marcelo Bielsa, and I think that they will win 2-0. So
Okay.
those are our results. Where do we agree? Ladi has shown us that he has a pattern for things of the away dispensation. He likes to stay very far away. Most of his predictions are for away wins, which is interesting. And it will be nice to see how they turn out. And of course, the AI has remained consistent, more often than not favoring the home side. The AI has gone for 2 draws. I have also gone for, I've gone for 3 draws. Mine is a bit of a mixed bag, unlike
Yeah.
Ladi, who's giving us some very interesting looking predictions. So, Ladi, as we round up, we always ask this question: where can we look forward to some insanity, to something unusual happen?
Okay,
That you think would happen?
Matthew, something unusual.
Yes.
Let me see. I think that can be the Liverpool Man City match.
Okay.
Be really led, yeah. Because
So what do you think will happen? Last minute penalty, or VAR will cancel a goal, or something?
VAR could go and favor someone. The VAR could
No,
just.
don't say can. Don't say can.
No.
We want to hear specific.
So if you think, say, Man City will score a last
Open your
goal,
crystal
VAR-
ball.
So if you get
VAR
that,
might just
it means-
decide to support someone and then give a penalty or something. Yeah.
Who?
I mean, to like Liverpool, just
No.
to
You have to be specific. You have to be specific. Don't say to
VAR
like
could favor Liverpool. VAR could favor Liverpool,
VAR,
and then
so
that could
what they're telling us. So what they're telling us now is that there's going to be a VAR decision that will be in favor of Liverpool
it could, I believe
to
something like that.
determine the game.
Yeah, it will influence the game.
Okay.
Okay.
Because
Good.
without that,
Good.
it's going to be more difficult for Liverpool to win.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Ladi, for joining us. Tell your friends about the show, you can get the link from Yemi. You can get the
Okay.
link so you can share with your friends. Sheyi, any parting shots?
Well, again, we just we continue to hope for the AI to continue the winning streak, and we'll come back here next week for more on AI and football predictions.
As I always say, please remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Let's keep the community growing. Myself and Sheyi, we faced a bit of a loss earlier this week to a dear friend of ours, Larry Akindoni, who passed on Monday. And somewhat our prayers go to his family, and we do pray that the Lord grants them the fortitude to bear the loss. I personally, and of course with the indulgence of Sheyi, dedicate today's show to Larry Akindoni,
Yeah.
otherwise known as Dakro. Big guy who is also larger than life.
Yeah.
A really great guy. It's been a very difficult 1 week.
Larger than life in every
a
sense
lot
of
of
the word.
us. In every sense of the word, larger than life in every sense of the word. It's been a tough week for those of us who are his friends, of course, members of his family, members of the soccer pub, and Dragons Den, and of course, entertainment group as well. So, Larry, rest in peace. Rest in peace. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a lovely weekend, and bye for now.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.